This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, so one of the dominant themes in the davening on the Yom Noram, especially Rosh Hashanah, where we ask Ribono Shel Olam to have rachamim on us, rachamonos. We ask Ribono Shel Olam to be merachim on us. For example, we say, Ha-ha-yoyim haras-olam hayom yamid b'mishpat kol yitzurei olamim. We say, Im kibanim, Im ka'avadim. Im kibanim, if we're like your children, rachamenu, have mercy on us, kerachem of albanim, as a father has mercy on his children. This is a very common tefillah on Yom Noram. Ribono Shel Olam, please have mercy on us, as the father has mercy on his children. Or this actually comes from the pasuk in Tehillim, Parak Kuf Gimel, that David HaMelech writes, kerachem of albanim, as the father has mercy on his children, richam Hashem al yireyav. Or like we say in the Tachnun that we say on Monday and Thursday, we say, kerachem of albanim, like a father has mercy on his children. Or let's say we're going to say in the Slichos, they don't even, there's not even enough time to get it out. I don't know how people do it. It's mamish siyata d'shmaya, how they could rattle off those two sentences. Right? But this is a very common tefillah. And the question is, as a father has mercy on his children, if one were to examine what is the quintessential mercy in this world, I think most people would say that the mother has more mercy on her children than the father has on his children. So what we want to delve into today is who in fact loves their children more. Who has more rachamim on their children? The father or the mother? Because after all, it seems that the tefillos seem to emphasize the rachamim of the father on the children. We don't really speak about the rachamim of the mother on their children. So that's a very interesting question that is posed in there. There's a sefer, Pardes Yosef, which is a takeoff. The original Pardes Yosef was written by one of the Talmidim, I believe, of the Avnei Nezer. It was written on Chumash, on Bereshis, Shemos, and Vayikra. And then there's a Goyin in Bnei Brak that had finished it off on Bamidbar Dvarim. And then they started writing Svarim in the style of the Pardes Yosef. So they wrote on Purim, and on Rosh Hashanah, and on Chanukah. And in the back of it there's a little kuntras called Kerem Eliezer. And in this kuntras they pose this question. Reishis call number 4. Yesh lachgar mi merachem yoiser, ha'av oy ha'em. Who has more mercy on their children, the mother or the father? So you'll ask, what's the nafkamina? And as we're going to see, this actually spells out halachic nafkaminas. I would venture to say if you stop 10,000 people on the street, Jews, non-Jews, and you ask them, who loves their children more? Probably 10,000 out of 10,000 would say, the mother. But I'm going to say over now a very controversial sma, which is also a very misquoted sma, and that is, in general, we know that if you want to know what is the correct attitude toward any moral, ethical, social issue, so what you do is you find out what the media says, and then the correct interpretation and perspective is the exact opposite. In other words, whatever the media says is always dead wrong, and the Torah says the opposite, without fail. But it's not only the media, because the Sma writes, and this is a misquoted Sma, Piskei balabatim hepech mi piskei haTorah, which means that what our gut instinct is not always the right approach. We may have certain intuitive feelings about things, and it might be dead wrong. Just because we feel strongly about a certain issue, or we have a certain natural view of a certain issue, it doesn't mean it's the correct approach. And it's not only balabatim, it's anybody, even people who learn Torah. Unless somebody is really immersed in in-depth Torah study, one's attitude does not necessarily mean that that's the correct perspective on an issue. And this is probably case in point. Okay, so we begin with the Medrash. We're going to look at the old print of the Medrash in Bereshis Rabbah. And it's talking about the scenario where Yaakov Avinu is about to encounter Esav, and he took the maidservants and their children, and he placed them first. And then he took his wife Leah and her children, and he placed them, and then Rachel and her children. And the Medrash says, Hada, Amra, Achroin, Chaviv. I remember there was a Chanukah Sabayis of a big yeshiva in the neighborhood. I'm not going to say which one. The biggest one in the neighborhood. And it was a very, very long program. And they had about 20 Gedolim speak. And it was a very, very, very long program. And I remember Rabbi Grumblat got up. And Rabbi Grumblat said, as a final speaker, now I know what it means. Achroin, achroin, chaviv. So anyway, so that's what it means. Achroin, achroin, chaviv. Hadahu d'chsiv. Now, it says that Yaakov Avinu put himself before his children. Hadahu d'chsiv. This is what it means. Kerachem av albanim. Like a father has mercy on his children, where Yaakov put himself first, and he says, if they're going to inflict harm, let them harm me and not harm the children. The Medrash continues. Who did David refer to when he said Kerachem av albanim? So the Medrash says he referred to the most merciful of all the avos. Who is that? The Medrash brings an opinion. This is Abraham, because Abraham Avinu was mispalel even for the residents of Sodom. Rabbi Levi Amar Yaakov. Who is the most merciful of all of the avos? Yaakov Avinu. Like the pasuk says, V'hu avar lefneim, he passed before them. He says, Amar tav diyiga bi v'loy b'hain. Now, there is a famous commentary on the Medrash called Yefei Tayar. It is not so well known, even though it's famous, whatever that means. It's the most important commentary on Medrash Rabbah. It is the primary commentary on Medrash Rabbah, and the reason it's not as well known is because it's out of print. Who wrote it? It was written by Rav Shmuel Yafa Ashkenazi. He was a Kadma. He lived from 1525 to 1595. He was a Rav in Kushta in Constantinople. And he lived in the time of the Marashdam, the Maharanach, and he wrote many commentaries on Medrash. Yefei Mara, Yefei Naim, Yefei Anaf, Yefei Koil, Yefei Tayar. He dedicated his life to studying Agadata. He spent 25 years working on the Yefei Tayar. He wrote on Bereshis, Shemais Vayikra, and not on Bamidbar Devarim. He wrote on Bamidbar Devarim, but it was never published. And they recently reprinted it, but until very, very recently, they only had a print of the Yefei Tayar in a very, very old, hard-to-read print. The Rosh Hashiva of Chavetz Chaim, Zechat Davracha, his go-to commentary on Medrash Rabbah was the Yefei Tayar. So Yefei Tayar writes a very interesting comment on this Medrash. Says Yefei Tayar, Kerachem av albanim, Kerachamon shaba'avos. Why is the Medrash interpreting Kerachim av albanim as the most merciful of the fathers? Maybe it means like a father has mercy on his children. Says the Yefei Tayar, the reason the Medrash doesn't interpret it kepshutai, as a father has mercy on his child, mishum dekai malon, dekashalei. It was shver to the Medrash. The kerachem emi boile. What do you mean like a father has mercy on his children? It should say like a mother has mercy on her children. Derachem eoim merubim mishalav. We all know the mama has much more rachmanis than the father. The father, you ask the father, can I? The father says, yeah, sure. Could I play hooky? No problem. You ask the mother, just the opposite. You ask the father is going to, beat you up. The mother, on the other hand, the mother says, no problem, Sheifala, what do you need? Stay in bed, I'll bring you supper and bread, I'll bring you breakfast and bed. So the mother has more mercy on her children. V'ha'id, and the proof that a mother has more mercy on her children is the pasuk in Yeshaya. Hasishkach isha ula meirachem ben bitna game elas ishkachna v'yanoichi lo yeshkachech. Can a woman have mercy on her? Can a woman forget her baby? Would a woman ever forget her baby? It's so unnatural for a mother ever to forget her child. Meirachim ben bitna, from having mercy on her child. You ask, the mother wakes up. The mother wakes up 5 times during the night to take care of the baby, and the father says, "It's amazing. My children are so well behaved at night, right? My children don't even wake up at night. I don't think any of my children ever woke up at night, right? So the proof is a mother will never forget her children, but a father possibly can. A mother, but even if a mother would. Right? We hear unnatural cases where it happens. Says Rebbe Hashem, I would never forget you. But says Yefei Tayar, from this pasuk we see that a mother has more mercy on her children than her father. So then what does it mean, Kerachim of Abanim? Kerachim of Abanim means like the most merciful father on his children. Who's that? Yaakov Avinu. So the opinion of the Yefei Tayar is that the mama has more rachmanas on her children than the tata. However, as we're about to learn today, the overwhelming majority of the Gedolim and the Poskim write that this is not the case. That the father has more rachamim on his children than the mother. The Pella. But the overwhelming majority of Mefarshim say it is the father who has more rachamim than the mother. Let's start here. The Radak. The Radak says, Kirachem, look at number 8, Ki ein rachamim gedolim kirachamei ha'av ala ben. There is no greater mercy than the mercy of a father on his son. So you say maybe that's just a generic term. It's what the Radak means is no greater mercy than the mercy of a parent for his child. But here we go. Marv Rabbi Sai, the Maharil. The Maharil is the backbone of Piskei Ashkenaz. Many of the comments of the Ramah are based on the Maharil. The Maharil writes, no, Amar ha da Amar karachim av abanim v'loy nizkar ha'em. You know why David HaMelech says like a father has mercy on his child and not like a mother? Hainu d'chsiv Yidei Nashim Rachamoniyos Bishlu Yaldeihen. The hands of merciful women cooked their children. Meaning sarcastically, look what happens to the merciful women. A woman's mercy is finite. It could come to the point where she could cook her own child. Why doesn't it say Yidei Anoshim Rachmoniyos? Because a father would never come to such a point. A father's mercy is that much deeper than the mercy of a mother. Says the Maril, Alma derachamonos shalohen eina ikar. We see the primary mercy is not of the mother, but of the father.
Isn't the intent of that pasuk to show even the women who are the most merciful were put in a position because of the churban and everything to do this?
So there's a commentary on Megillas Eicha who says what this gentleman is saying, that the pasuk is not saying that women could come to Achzorios and men will never come to it. No, look at number 28. Yedei Nashim Rachmoniyos. Remind me your last name again, I'm sorry.
Cohen.
So Rabbi Cohen is saying, what's your first name?
Moshe.
Rav Moshe is saying that the pasuk is not saying that women could come to Achzorios but not men. It means look at the extent of the tragedy. Look how desperate the times were. That even women who traditionally or classically have more rachamim on their children, even they came to the point where they had to cook their own children. Look at number 28. Hakavana. Ki miteva hanoshim l'rachim al b'neihen. It is human nature that women have more mercy. Like the pasuk says, Hasishkach isha ula merachim ben bina, ve'im eyos tivan l'rachim leim, yotzim eyem, im kol zeh ato yidei noshim rachmaniyos. Look what happened to these women. However, the Maril is not learning the pasuk that way. The Maril is learning the pasuk that yes, only women could come to to Bishlu Yaldeyan, but fathers will never be reduced to that level, meaning the father would rather give up his own life than come to this point. That's how the Maharil learns. By the way, not only the Maharil. Look at the Ramban. The Ramban wrote a sefer Emuno B'Tachon. If I were to ask you, we have two institutions in this world. We have the institution of fatherhood. We have the institution of motherhood. We also have two midos. We have midas hadin, and we have midas harachamim. If I were to ask you, fatherhood and motherhood, which one is midas hadin and which one is midas harachamim? I think we would have instinctively say, fatherhood is midas hadin, and motherhood is midas harachamim. Says Ramban, ibcha mistabra pink fakert. Just the opposite. Says Ramban, vida shemidas hadin le'im umidas harachamim la'av. The attribute of strict justice is the attribute of motherhood, and the attribute of mercy is fatherhood. That's why David said, Kirachim av abanim. Because a father has more mercy on the child than the mother. The mother is going to be tough. The mother is going to be more stubborn, more enforceful. The mother is going to say, this is what I feel, and this is how it is. And the father is going to say, oh, look away, give him one more chance. This is the Ramban. The Ramban was an Orthodox rabbi. The Rashita of the Ramban is that fatherhood is midas harachamim, motherhood is midas, and that's why. Now, whenever the pasuk talks about midas harachamim by women, it will never say aim. It will say nashim. Because listen carefully, this has nothing to do with masculine and feminine. It could be women, their feminine nature is softer and more merciful, and man's masculine nature is more stubborn and more harsh. We're not talking about masculine and feminine. We're talking about the institution of fatherhood and motherhood. The role of Abba, the role of Ima. The role of Ima is Midas Hadin. The role of Abba is Midas Harachamim. That's what the Ramban learns. And the proof is, whenever it talks about Rachamim in context of women, it's not Yidei Imos Rachamanios. Imahos Rachamanios. It's Yidei Noshim Rachamanios. However, when it talks about Midas Hadin is Imai. Asher Yisarto Imai, his mother rebuked him. Because that's the job of a mother, to rebuke, says Ramban. But by a masculine, when it talks about Midas Harachamim, he calls it a father. When it talks about Midas Hadin, it talks about a man. Kasher Yiyasar Ish Espanai. So this is what? So the Ramban addresses that. That's because you can't say Musar Ish, because Ish would imply, the Ramban says, a stranger. So therefore it had to say Avicha. But the Ramban brings up your point, that it would have said Al Titosh Musar Ish, but Ish has a connotation that it's talking about somebody not related to you. But the Rabbeinu Bechaye, a student of the Ramban, continues this teaching of the Ramban. And he says this is not just a matter of role, this is actually part of the DNA and the fabric of a woman and a man. Even though one would think the father is by nature tough and harsh, and the mother is soft and pliable, says Rabbeinu Bechaye, just the opposite. What did God make man out of? Man is a piece of dirt. So next time somebody calls you that, you should be Moida ala emes. Somebody says to you, you're a piece of dirt, you should say, it's a pasuk in Chumash. True. What? Not dirt in Arizona. Dirt is somewhere else, I don't know. Dust, afar. Man is, on the other hand, a woman is etzem me'atzamai. A woman is a piece of bone. There's no flexibility. Ha'isha kasha betiva. A woman is harsh by nature. Lefisha nivreis mina etzem. So you say that's not politically correct. That's why you come to Shiur here. You want to know what's politically correct? You could read a lot of newspapers. But if you want to know what the Rishonim say, the Rishonim say that the nature of a woman is kasha ke'etzem. Avol teva ha'adam, the nature of man, hu noyach, is soft. Shenivra min ha'afar, shu noyach. That's why it says by Adam vayitzer, because he's made out of clay and dust. But by a woman, no. Vayiven, she's built.
A man.
Like a what?
She's built from the man.
Vayiven ka'adam shaboyna binyan ba'avonim sheim kashim. Therefore, it says by a father, karachem av abanim. So now the question is, and who's holier? Who's better? Obviously women are better, right? Says Rabbeinu Bechaye, I mean that's what we say, right? And it says Rabbeinu Bechaye that man was created from outside of Gan Eden. And he was brought in. But after Hashem brought Adam into Gan Eden, Hashem created Chava from the material in the Gan Eden. So man is created from mi bachutz. You know, in Israel there's an expression, mi bachutz. Men are mi bachutz, and the women are mi bifnim. Very nice. But if you want to know who's harsher, who's more kasha, and who's more noyach, the nature of a woman is kasha betiva. The nature of a man is noyach betiva. This is not my opinion. This is what Rabbeinu Bechaye writes. This is what the Ramban writes. This is what the Maril writes. In contradistinction to the Yefei Tayar. Yefei Tayar says women have more rachamim on their children. The proof is Hasishkach Isha Ula, and the Maril the Ramban, Rabbeinu Bechai say, no, a father has more rachamim on his children than the mother. What does the Abarbanel hold? Look at number 24. The Abarbanel concurs. The Abarbanel concurs with the Maril, the Ramban, or Rabbeinu Bechai. He says, Moshe Rabbeinu, when Rabbi Shalom came to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Hashem had kindness on Moshe Rabbeinu, you're not taking care of the people, you're not dealing with each one's needs. So Moshe says, what do you want from me? Moshe says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ha'anoichi harisi es hamazeh? Did I conceive this people? Em anoichi yiletihu? Did I give birth to them? Ki soimer elai, that you say to me, Sa'eu b'cheikecha, kasher yisa oimen es hayoinek? So the Abarbanel says, why is Moshe being compared to a woman, not to a man? Says the Abarbanel, and you know why Moshe should be compared to a man? Ki ha'av hu ha'mesamel yoiser lozon es banav. A father puts in more effort to support his children. Like the pasuk says, karachim av albanim. And because the father's contribution to the creation of the child is more vital to the final completion of the child, says the Abarbanel, the father will love his child more than the mother. So it's pretty remarkable that most Mefarshim say, not like the Yifei Tayar, that the father not only is more merachim on the child, the father loves the child more. Now let me tell you one thing. One second. What? Let me tell you one thing. There's a very interesting medrash that I think right now you're looking at me very incredulous, very skeptical. You're thinking, okay, what am I going to say? I can't argue on the Maril, the Ramban, Rabbeinu Bechai, but Ma'asim, look around the world, this doesn't seem to be how it is. This one you're going to say, no, this is exactly how it is. This is point on. Look at number 13. Remember Miriam? So Moshe Rabbeinu was born, and they have to throw him into the Nile. And Miriam was standing far away, and she wanted to see what would become of the child. Why? Because Miriam had an invested interest here. Because Miriam, before Moshe was born, she prophesied. She said, Asida yimi sheteled bein. My mother is destined to have a child, sheyoshia es Yisrael, who's going to save the Jewish people. And what happened? Moshe was born. The whole house was full of light. And when the child was born, the parents saw that her prophecy was coming to fruition. So what they do? Amar Aviyah, the father stood up, unishaka Rosha. He kissed her on the head. He said, my daughter, your prophecy has been fulfilled. That's the pshat. Miriam took the drum. Miriam, the sister of Aaron. Why do we call her the sister of Aaron, not the sister of Moshe? Because she prophesied before Moshe was even born. But when they had to take Moshe and throw him into the river, her mother came and smacked her and said, now what happened to your nevuah? This is what it means. Miriam stood from afar to see what would be with her nevuah. So the Yetz Yosef on the Medrash has an astounding diuk. Why was it that when Moshe was born and the prophecy of Miriam was coming true, her father came and gave her a big kiss? And when they then had to take her and throw her in the river, the mother smacked her. Why wouldn't it be the other way around? That when the prophecy came true, her mother gave her a kiss, and when the prophecy seemed to be in jeopardy, her father smacked her. Says the Yetz Yosef in a very keen observation, that when a child is successful, the father is the one who is beaming, who is so happy. The father is the one shepping the nachas. The father is the one who's enjoying it. Yeah, both parents enjoy it, but when at that graduation, when the principal is speaking nicely about the kid, both parents enjoy it, the father is beaming a little brighter than the mother. The father is always there to take the credit. When the child is doing good, the father comes in, he jumps on the bandwagon, and he takes all the credit. But when the kid is struggling, when the kid is struggling, and the kid is in pain, and the kid is a little wayward, and the parents are worried, the father is out to lunch, and the mother is the one suffering over the child. That's human nature. So when Miriam's prophecy seemed to have been coming true, the father comes, I made the love, shkoyach, good job. You hit it on. You did well with the prophecy. And then when the prophecy was in jeopardy, we don't know where the father is, but Yocheved comes and gives her a say. In other words, the success of the child is enjoyed by the father, and the failure of the child is suffered by the mother. That's very interesting. And it's also, you see it, it's Ma'asim B'chol Yom. Okay, so you say, what's the nafkamina? Who loves their child more, the father or the mother? There are two very poignant and compelling nafkaminas. If chas v'shalom there is a breakup between the father and the mother, who gets the children?
The mother.
No, al pi halacha. Al pi halacha. Who halachically is entitled to get the children? What? By the way, not that it's ever going to, not that we would ever be able to enforce following the Torah. You know, following the Torah is always the last thing anybody does. But what's the halacha?
The one who gets a better lawyer.
What's the halacha? So the Rosh seems to say that if there's a breakup, the father gets the kids. So the Shas Teshuvas Mishpat Tzedek says why? Look at number 15. The Svirole, the Rosh holds Shoha'av Yoiser Mishtadel B'chol Tzorchei Haben V'Habas, because the father will take better care of the children. Why? Like David HaMelech says, Kerachem Av Al Bonim, that the father's mercy, the father's love is more compelling, is deeper than the love of the mother. And ultimately the father, now he doesn't say, well, the father is the one who works, the father is the one who has a job. He doesn't say that. He says the father will take better care of the children, he'll provide more. How do we know that? D'chsiv, kerachim av abonim. On the other hand, by women it says, yedei nashim rachmaniyos b'shul yadeim. By the way, the Stei Chemed brings down that the Beis David argues on the Mishpat Tzedek, and the Beis David says no. The mother has more rachamim on the child, and therefore the mother gets the children. We asked, doesn't the pasuk say Yedei Nashim Rachmaniyos Bishul Yadein? So one interpretation we already offered, right? That it means Ad Kedei Kach, that tragedy was so harsh that even women had to cook their own children. But by the way, there's a Rashi in Masechta Sanhedrin in number 31. Rashi learns completely differently. For the way Rashi learns this pasuk, there's no indication at all that the Torah is criticizing the rachamim of the mother. Rashi says, you know what it means? Yedei nashim rachamaniyos bishul yaldein? That you had women who were such mirachamim, who knew that if they had to cook their own children, they would invite their friends over for lunch, so that the other mothers shouldn't have to cook their own children. That's what it means. Yedei nashim rachmaniyos bishul yaldein, and therefore they save the other nashim from having to cook their children. But the Beis David says, no, the children go to the mother. But this machlokes of who has greater love and who has greater rachamim is actually has halachic ramifications, and namely, who gets the children if in the event of a breakup. Another nafkamina. Again, this is all academic, and it's not a common occurrence, obviously. But the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, number 17, Tanu Rabbanon, Ein Lo Damim. Im Zarcha Hashem Eshalav. It's talking about Haba b'machtaras. Somebody is sleeping, and all of a sudden a guy comes into the room at night. He says, Rabbi, do me a favor. I want your American Express card. What do you do, Rabbi Say? Middle of the night. Yeah, you put a bullet in his head. Right? If somebody comes in the middle of the night, says, I need your Discover card, please. Right? What do you do with them? You shoot them in the head. Why? Because they're coming to kill you. What do you mean? The guy says, I don't want to hurt you, I just want your American Express. What do? You shoot them. Why? Because he knows you're not just going to hand over the American Express. He knows you're going to try to defend yourself. So he's coming to kill you. So he's a roide if you kill him. That's what the Gemara says. But the shaila is, what if you know he's not coming to kill you? So the Gemara asks, what's the situation where you know he's coming to kill you? What's the situation where you don't know he's coming to kill you? So the Gemara says, Loi kasha, kan be'av ala ben, kan be'ben ala av. That if a child is coming to steal from the parent, the child might be coming to kill the parent. So then the parent has to defend themselves. The parent's is lada habola hargacha hashkem hargai. But if a father is coming to take the kid's money, there's a chazaka, we know the father would never kill the son. Comes the Reb Reuven Margolios, what if it's not the father to the son? What if it's the mother? So what's the answer? It depends. It's a machlokes. the Yifei Tayar against the Maril and the Ramban, Rabbeinu Bechaye, and the Barbanel. The Yifei Tayar would say the mother has greater mercy than the father. If a father would never kill his son, of course the mother would never kill her son. But Ruba de Ruba, the Poskim say, not true. Just because a father would never kill the son, that does not apply to the mother. Because Kerachim Av Al Banim, the father has more mercy than the mother. My Rabbi say, here's the problem, here's the question on this. Look at number 19. We just read this in the Haftarah of Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. Parshas Re'eh, yeah? Kish asher imai tenachamenu kein anochi anachemchem u'virushalayim tenuchamu. Like a man whose mother consoles him, so too I will console you, and you will be consoled in Jerusalem. So wait a second. The Medrash wants to know, if it's Karachim Aval Banim, then why is it Ki'ish Asher Imoi Tenachamenu? It should be Ki'ish Asher Aviv Tenachamenu. So the Medrash says that what? Oh, good. So the simple pshat is, the clear pshat is not a question. The father has more rachamim on the child. The mother says, this is how it is. But if the kid is sad, if somebody's upset, if the kid is hurt, who could assuage your feelings of anguish? The mother. The mother is a greater menachem, and the father is a greater merachem. But look in the psikna. Look at number 20. Kirachim of abanim, richam ke'eza of kiracham anshe ba'avais. Who's that? Avram Avinu. Rabbi Yeshua ben Nachman says no. Yaakov Avinu. The Medrash continues, Islam and Aleph. Amar Rab Shmuel, Darkoi shall av lerachem, the Darko shall aim lenachem. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what am I? Am I your tata or am I your mama? Says the Rebbeinu Shalom, Ano avid didav, ano avid didaim. I do both. Ano avid didav, kirachim av abonim. Ano avid didaim or da'av udaim, ki'ish asher imay tenachamenu. Says Rebbeinu Shalom, Anoichi hu menachemchem. I'm like your father, I have rachamim on you. I'm like your mother, I'm menachem you. Who does this matter seem to support? Does it support the opinion of Rabbeinu Bechaye, the Ramban, and the Maharil and the Barbanel that a father has more rachamim, or does it support the Yifei Tayar that the mother has more rachamim? It supports the surprising view that certainly the father is more of the merachim, because the Medrash says, I'm merachim on you like a father, I'm menachem you like a mother. So it's a kasha on the Yifei Tayar. But luckily the Yifei Tayar is bothered by this question. And the Yifei Tayar interprets the Medrash like as follows. Darko shal av l'rachem, v'darko shal aim, gam kein lenachem. Meaning a mother is not only merachim, she's also menachem. Look in the way the Sdei Chemed says it. He says, the Al Kopanim, number 22, Muchach midivre muchach tzas shedarcha av l'rachim yoser me'em, v'yesh lidcho she'en kavanas yav sha'av merachim yoser. Elo loymar, even though the father is merachim, he's not menachem, but the mother is merachem and the mother is merachem. By the way, they once asked the Imrei Emes, and the Imrei Emes says, Avada, the mother has more rachamim. What does it mean? Kirachim av abanim kein terachim Hashem aleinu? The Imrei Emes says, we don't have the courage to ask God to have so much mercy on us like our mothers have mercy on us. We don't have the chutzpah to ask for that. He says, at least have as much mercy on us like the tata, but not like the mother. Only a mother could have that much mercy. We don't even dare ask for Yibban Hashem. Yeah, I don't. This is a story, and stories are stories, But it's a good story. But whether it happened, I can't tell you.
There's a mistake here.
Could be. That's happened. I've made mistakes in my life.
No.
What did I do?
21.
21.
It says v'darka shel af l'nachem. That should be darka shel aim af l'nachem.
Yeah, I think it is. By the way, I think it is.
What?
I think it is aim. I think it should be aim. It could even be that it's missing that line over there. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be aim. Because you see in the next Marimakim,
It's also
Right,
It's also-
right,
it's
right.
also
You see, right, it's pointing out, it says, right, correct, good point. So, this is a great,
Darko or Darka?
it should be the mother.
Is it also missing in the...
Yeah, it says Darka, it's clearly the mother. Fill it in. Anybody have an extra pen? Give him an extra pen. Fill it in. Here. He wants you to fill it in right now. Fill it in. Fix it. Okay. So this is a very great debate, whether the mother has more mercy as we would have expected or anticipated or intuitively recognized, or in fact, no, there's this concept that a father, maybe he doesn't display it, but deep down there is a greater bedrock of rachamim of the father than the mother. What do you do with that?
What does it do with the posuk?
Can a mother forget her child? So, should a mother ever stop having mercy? Even if she would, maybe it's like this: a mother possibly could, a father wouldn't. In other words, that's how the Rishonim learn. But 1 second, what? What, he feit tayar? He's an early achrein, you know. He's entitled. Rabbi say this debate that we're having, this discussion that we're having, was and as credulous as we may be, and as skeptical as we may be, there is somebody even more skeptical than us, and that is Yoav ben Tzruya. And when David HaMelech penned the words Kerachim of Albanim, Yoav went out of his kalim. How could David say that? Yoav said that a father has more mercy on his children. It's not true. Yoav said a mother for sure has more mercy. So Yoav went out to conduct an independent project, an independent survey. So now this Medrash does not appear in our versions of Medrash Rabbah, but it does appear in the original, authentic version of the Medrash, which is called Medrash Rabbasi. Medrash Rabbasi is based on something called the Yisoid. Rashi sometimes says, I got this from the Yisoid of Rav Moshe Hadarshan. The Medrash Rabbasi is based on the Yisoid of Rav Moshe Hadarshan. We have two versions of this. First in number 25, Medrash Bereshis Rabbasi, and in the Sefer Oitzer Midrashim, published by somebody, Eisenstein. And I'm going to tell you the more expanded version. Yoav ben Tzruya once wanted to see who has more mercy on their children, a father or the mother. So he went to a very poor family, and there was a very old father. And the father and mother had 12 children, and they couldn't put it together. And every night the father would come home with 7 peas, and they would cut them in half, and there were 12 children and 2 parents, and each one would have a half a pea for dinner. And Yoav knocks on the door. He tells the father, would you mind giving me one of your children? I'll give you $1,000. You'll be set for life. You give me one of your children, and I'll support you. I'll give you money for that. The father's nothing doing. So he realized he's going to speak to the mother when the father's not home. And he goes to the mother, says, can I have one of your children? I'll buy one of your children off you. She said, no, I can't give you one of my children. So he said, well, just give me the worst behaved child. She said, they're all equally badly behaved. No. So she said, I can't do it. My husband's going to kill me. No, you don't understand. I'm going to give you so much money. Your husband's not going to have to work all day, and he's going to be so happy with you, and you'll be able to relax and support the rest of your children benachas. She said, which one do you want? And she gave over the child. The father comes home. The father, he didn't know how many children he has, but he knew how many peas he had to bring home. He cuts up the peas. There was an extra half a pea to go around. Where's Yankel? So she said, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is, we don't have to eat peas every day from now on. The bad news is, Yankel is, I sold him. Who did you sell him to? He goes to him, he says, give me back the kid, otherwise either I'm going to kill you or you kill me. Says Yoav, now I saw that David was right, that the father has more rachamim on the children than the mother. That's the Medrash. It's the Medrash. That's the Medrash. Anyway, as we pointed out, there are definitely different aspects of the relationship that a parent has with their children. On the one hand, the Medrash says a mother is menachem. There's a concept, the mother is the one who is able to be menachem her children. On the other hand,
Your phone.
He doesn't have it, he said.
On the other hand, it seems like the father, according to most, has more rachamim on the children, than the mother, although the Yifei Tayar debates that, and the Yifei Tayar says no, the mother not only is menachem, the mother is merachim. Now, what in the world does it mean that the father has more rachamim on the children? Is that really the case? Does that seem to be true? So I'll tell you a scenario. Rabbi Victor Miller used to say this. He says, the kid wakes up in the morning, and the kid says, "Mommy, my throat, it's so raw. I don't feel good. You think I could stay home from yeshiva?" And the mother says, "Sheifala, you're not feeling good. Stay in bed. I'll bring you a tea." Meanwhile, the father comes home from Shachris. The bus is coming in 5 minutes. He says, "Yitzchak, why? Where are you? Why are you in bed? My throat is raw." He said, "If you, that means you're alive. There's nobody in history who ever woke up and their throat is not raw." "Yeah, but my nose is running." "Yeah, your nose will be running. I may have Esrim Shana. Your nose should be running in the morning." "Yeah, but I'm tired." Every human being is tired. Get out of bed right now. But I don't have my pants. I'm going to send you on the bus without your pants on. Right? I'm going to send you without your shoes on. You go, "Yeah, but I didn't do my homework." "Okay, so tomorrow you'll do your homework." And the father takes the kid and throws him on the bus. So who has more rachamim? The mother or the father? The mother is doing what the kid wants the mother to do. And the father is doing what's good for the kid. So what does rachamim mean? Does rachamim mean the softer touch? Or does rachamim mean what's in the best interest of the child? Says the Kav HaYashar, "V'lchein nirali, demachma zeh kosa b'Torah, kerachem av albanim, v'lama lo yiksiv kerachem eim albanim, ki teva hazachar asher hu oyev es benoi hu miyasrehu." The nature of the male who loves his son rebukes him. K'may she'amar HaKosav, "Choysech shivtai soinei benoi, v'oyavoi shicharei musar, ki kol ish asher yiyaser es benoi." When every person reprimands their son, hu oyev lavnoi, like it says in the Medrash Rabbah. But a woman, he raka slave. Right? When the father is giving it to the kid, what happens? The father's hands are tied because the mother comes running and says, No, don't do it. You're being too tough, you're being too harsh. And when the child is young, the mother gives the child, Kol mishalo isliboy. But the kid is yoytze l'tar basra. V'hakolhu b'grama de'isha. Says the Kav HaYashar, rachamim does not mean softer. Rachamim doesn't mean what the person wants. Rachamim means what's ultimately in the best interest of the child. Which would then mean that the father does not have rachamonis in the sense that we think of, that the father is nicer or softer. But when we ask the Ribono Shel Olam them for rachamim, when we ask God to have mercy on us, do we necessarily mean, God, this year, I want to become a multi-billionaire, and I want to have everything that I want when I want it? Is that what we're asking for? What is... Yeah. I thought you would say that, right? What the words mean. When Kerachim av albanim, we ask Ribono Shel Olam not only to give us what we want, but it should be with our best interest in mind. And while I'm sure we could debate this issue of who has more ahava, and who has more rachamim, and who is more of a menachem, but let me ask you, what is the greatest love in the whole world? The love that a father has to a child, the love that a child has to a parent, the love that a spouse has to the other. The Chavetz Chaim says the greatest love in the world is the love that you have for yourself. The greatest ava that a person has is the love that a person has for themselves. But says the Chavetz Chaim, even greater than the love a person has for themselves is the love that the Ribono Shel Olam has for a person. And we hope, and we plead to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we hope that this love will display it in a way that is good for us, and is the way we want, and is to be Mamale Kol Mishal Yiseinu L'Toiva. But the ultimate rachamim is the rachamei kerachim of albanim, with the end goal in mind, with our best interest in mind. Rabbi Say, have a great day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.